buyers to take over its businesses in South Africa. The Guptas announced earlier that they were disposing of all their stakes in local businesses before the end of the year. They've denied accusations that they used their friendship with President Jacob Zuma to advance their business interests. Last month, the Public Protector's Office said it would receive additional funds to investigate whether President Zuma allowed the family to influence cabinet appointments. The family has been accused of being behind the sacking of former Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene. And markets were rattled again this week on news that Nene's replacement, Pravin Gordhan, had been summoned by the Hawks. And this relates to an investigation into a suspected so-called SARS unit established when Gordhan was head of the Revenue Service. Now, earlier on, we spoke to OAKBAY Chief Executive Officer Nazeem Howa and asked him what influenced the decision to sell the Gupta family stake in their businesses.
I suppose, there's never a right time to make a decision like this. But I suppose, when the decision was taken in April this year for the family to step back from executive and non-executive roles, a natural next step would have been this. I think a big factor has been the interest shown by some international buyers in the shares. So the right time, the right price, I suppose, is quite an important issue.
Now, you've just mentioned there's no right time to make this decision, and it's interesting that you mentioned that the decision actually came along when there were interested buyers. But was this not also prompted by the alleged investigation by National Treasury?
Well, let me deal with that one. Any investigation would be targeted, but primarily at the management and directors, not the shareholders.
Yes.
And the management and directors will remain in place as they are right now. So that has nothing to do with any of those allegations whatsoever. But let me deal with that one. I know I saw some media reports about some Eskom supply agreements. At this point, Tegeta has two contracts with Eskom. One for Brakfontein, where we supply at 13.50 rand per CV. And the other one at Hendrina, which we bought from Glencore, where we supply at 7 rand per CV. At a great loss to the company every month, to be very honest with you. But those two supply contracts will be the cheapest in Eskom at this time right now. So I'm not sure where this undue benefit comes from, because we are the cheapest supplier to Eskom right now.
Now, many people have raised concerns about the alleged influence that the Gupta family has over the state. I mean, you saw in the intro that I was going through right now, where it was alleged that they had influence in the appointment of cabinet ministers, for example. What's your response to these allegations and of state capture? I know you've spoken about it before, but it keeps coming up. Now you're speaking of a business deal, for example, which is what you say you are doing. You're just selling off your stake in the country, but that always keeps coming up.
It's something I like journalists to really respond to, because it's something I really don't understand. For the last perhaps year, we've had lots of very strong allegations published in newspapers. Yet it's never been followed with anything. There's been no charges, there's been no formal processes around anything. Where we have had formal processes like the ANC investigation, it's come back as we've done nothing untoward in any of those activities. Now, let's deal with the issue of state capture. I've said to you we have two contracts with Eskom right now. The first one, Brakfontein, at 13.50 rand. Eskom's average price is 19 rand. So where would the benefit be for us in that one? In terms of the Hendrina contract, it's at 7 rand. Eskom's average price is 19 rand.
So then why are you in deals that are seemingly not beneficial?
Well, essentially, I think we battled for 4 years to get the contract at Brakfontein. And as a new entrant into the market, it was a deal that we took to open the door and to go in there. We then bought into Optimum. Eskom's condition on that was that we would honor the contract until December 2018, and we're happy to do that. We went into that with our eyes open. In terms of the rest of the business, the only area we still have some business with government is in our media company. At last count, I think we were under 5% of government's total media spend. So we're a small player in government spend across the business. Our biggest profit generator is JIC. By some margin, our biggest turnovers come out of JIC, mining services. It doesn't do 1 cent of government business. So it's really a fallacy created by media. And I would hope one day that story will be written. It's a sad day for all of us today. We're very saddened by the shareholders' decision. I've got to know them over the last 6 years I've worked there. They are very good people to work with. I've been very impressed by their approach to their colleagues, and I see myself as one of the colleagues with them. I think they're very genuine in their concern about all 7,500 staff members. Their decision to step down was to help us get the banks back. It hasn't worked, but they're making these sacrifices in order to secure the jobs and to grow the business. Ma'am, it's a very little known secret that when we entered, or when the family entered this country, they came with a few 100,000 rand and they built a business from nothing. All profits generated in South Africa are reinvested in South Africa. Not 1 rand has gone out of this country. We now have 7,500 staff. So it's a sad day for all of us and my ExCo colleagues. We're really saddened by losing what we consider to be very good people.
I want us to touch on the sale a little bit later on, but before that, what about this notion that black business owners and BE partners are unhappy with how you have been doing business in the coal industry specifically? What's your take on that?
Well, again, I would ask on what respect. Our Brakfontein contract, which was the only one we got from us on our own, started at 65,000 tons. It is less than 1% of Eskom's total purchase of coal. I don't know if you know this, but 80% of Eskom's coal comes from 5 big major companies.
Yes.
So we really are nothing in that business. I think very bad perceptions have been created by the media, but nothing backs that fact. So Brakfontein, 65,000 tons. It's nothing.
Okay, let's go back to the sale now. Are you in a position to reveal some of the prospective buyers at this point?
It's always very difficult.
Yeah.
I think you're governed by confidentialities. I suppose the shareholder decision is based on the discussions reaching a very advanced stage. So it's not something that came all of a sudden. But the shareholders now feels that it's something that they can announce on the basis of where we've got to with the discussions.
Actually, in the beginning you mentioned that it was international buyers that are more interested. Any prospect of maybe selling to local buyers? Is anybody even interested?
Well, once the news broke today, my phone's been ringing off the hook from everybody who wants to meet. And
the locals.
The locals. And of course we'll look at all options, but we're not looking at a fire sale. So any buyer is a good buyer, I suppose, and that's something the shareholder will deal with.
When can we expect the process to be included at this point in time? I know they want to sell off by the end of the year, they say. Is that even possible considering the amount of businesses that they have in the country? But then also, I think something that one of the viewers mentioned on Twitter when I wrote about the interview that's going to be taking place was, well, what happens to NN7, for example, and the other businesses? Is it business as usual until a sale is announced?
Absolutely. As a management team, the shareholder gave us the responsibility in April when they stepped back to take control of the business. We have the responsibility for the livelihoods of 7,500. I'm surrounded by a wonderful group of executives. They've done a sterling job in the last few months, and I know they will continue to do that job so that our staff and our colleagues are well taken care of and that their jobs remain safe going forward. Of course, we want to be in a very attractive state for any new buyer. It's a very important step for us, so we'll take very good care of the business.
Are you in an attractive state at this point in time?
I certainly believe that.
Okay.
I certainly believe that. I think we run a very good business. I think particularly from the shareholder side, I've learned very much from the shareholder. Despite all my years of experience in business, I think I've learned a very different way of doing business and a very good way of doing business. I've learned astuteness. I've learned a caring nature, I think, from the shareholder, because that's what they imbue on all of us.
What about the workers? How do they feel about this? Or is it something that, that's still going to be formally announced to them at the start of the week? Or has, the conversation started with them?
Well, we've already briefed, I think, the executives, and they're briefing their teams today. I've again received several messages from staff on the ground, all very, very saddened by the news. I think it's a sad day for us, and it's a sad day for South Africa to see this decision taken.
Is the family going to stay in the country? Are they planning to leave? Are they even here? What's happening?
They're in the country at the moment. They are South Africans.
Yeah.
They love this country. I think they've given most of their business lives to this country over the last 20 years. They've built a very good business. They've built a very good family, and the staff are family. So I certainly, will see them staying here simply because they love this country.
Thank you very much for joining us. It was interesting to have this discussion with you. Actually, before you leave, I remembered you mentioned the banks, the standoff with the banks, and you were saying the shareholders had tried to intervene. What's the latest there? Is it...
The shareholders never intervened. The shareholders never intervened. The intervention was led by the management team.
And?
We met with the banks. We've met with each of the banks several times. Some of them didn't want us to meet with them, but we've tried our best. We've not got a reason from any bank on why they've wanted to close the bank accounts. I'm hoping, as the CEO for the group, that this decision will allow the banks to reconsider their decisions. And I certainly will be knocking on the doors to say, we've now got a new set of shareholders. Will you reconsider your decision?
Just finally, let's look at your relations with the current Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan. How is it?
Well, I think as we would have with any other person, We have very good relations with everybody. He's the minister. We respect him very, very deeply, as we would any other politician or any other business leader. So there is nothing untoward in that decision, in that relationship. I know the media is trying to create that, but we have great respect for the finance minister.
And I'd assume the rest of the cabinet as well.
Very, very correctly so. We respect everybody that has any role to play in this country.